Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome to season 2, episode 2, class in session. I have Kevin from Putt Confidently. I can do
It's,
this. I know
it's
I can do this. From Putt Confidently with me.
Yep.
Woo! I'm an editorial writer, Kevin, so I'm in articles all day.
Mhm.
Today I was looking up tons of statistics, and so my brain is a little mush. But I appreciate you being here, man. How are you doing?
Doing good here too. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Loved following just what you're doing with the podcast, with
Thank
Teach
you.
Play, and um, yeah, just love seeing it come up on the Instagram, and happy to be a part of it, honestly, because really like what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I'm really glad to have you here. Um, I'm definitely trying to get talk with all my sponsors, get with them on the podcast. And I'm so grateful that you are able to do this with me. I'm really excited to talk about a couple things here in the class and session. This is the exclusive for members only, for subscribers only. And so a couple things that we're going to talk about here for you listeners is how did Kevin get into disc golf? How long has he been playing? What's his game kind of like? We're then going to create our own putters. So if we had the option to, regardless of manufacturer, to create our own putter, how would it fly? What would it feel like? What would sort of its specialty be, kind of thing? And then we're going to discuss, to wrap up this segment, the drive for show, putt for dough mentality. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I've talked about it before on the show, but I haven't been able to pick the brains of some people who love putting. So I'm excited to hear what Kevin has to say. So Kevin, let's go ahead and let's talk about you and your disc golf background. How did you get into disc golf?
I really got into it. It just sort of came to me. I saw a course being advertised in like my little local classified type
Mm-hmm.
paper, and it was still about 25 minutes away. It's not exactly close, but I live
Right.
in pretty much the middle of nowhere, so nothing's close. Um, and yeah, I was going through like a breakup with a girlfriend, and it all ended up kind of being fine. But at that time, it was like a really stressful kind of breakup thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really nice to go out. I just went. I called the number. The guy that was one of the guys building the course just played around with me and had a couple discs, and it just sort of went from there. But it really helped getting into that flow state to really just forget about all that other crap that's going on.
Yeah.
I'd played a fair amount of stick golf before, so I was familiar with um, the game of golf itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that came, that part of it was never really a problem. But yeah, just being out in the woods, just hanging out with some
Yeah.
dudes,
Yeah.
having a couple beers, and just getting in that flow state
Right.
that's it. And we're still
Yeah.
going. It's the first hobby that I've realized I was never going to be a pro at. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've done a number of athletic endeavors in my life.
Right.
I would get to like 90% of my maximum potential. Um, realize I wasn't ever going to be a pro, and I just sort of would move on to the next thing. Disc
Right.
golf is the first thing that I've kept doing, like even
I
after,
love that.
just for fun, just for like, I just love doing it.
Yeah. How long have you been playing?
I've been playing probably 7 years. I
Oh,
think
nice.
I started in kind of the fall of 2017.
That
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yep.
I started not long after you. You were fall of 2017. I was
Mhm.
early spring 2018. I literally remember it was in like March 2018. I had moved to Texas 2 months earlier from New Jersey, and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, had a buddy that I had stayed with when I had come to visit her, and um, he played a bunch of disc golf, and so he took me out to the local course, and we played a little bit, and I was not very good at it. I played ultimate frisbee all in college, but I loved just the solo competition while also just having the opportunity to hang out, and so it's kind of funny. We've been playing about the same amount of time, and yeah, dude, disc golf is great for just like going out in the woods and hanging out and chilling and just relaxing. And I love that, like that flow state that you were talking about, just being able to just relax. and chill. I can tell when it's been too long that I've been out for a round, when I start feeling a little like anxious and like agitated. I'm like, I need to go outside. I need to go outside.
Yeah, there's so much to it. There's so much more to it than just disc golf. I don't think you can say that about basketball or lifting weights.
Yeah.
You know, maybe cycling and running a little bit because there's some
Right.
fresh air and sun and stuff like that. But,
Right.
you know, you're not out in the woods. You're not like disc golf has
Yeah.
so much more like healthy things to it. You know,
Oh, yeah.
just like primal things to it, like the
Mhm.
social aspect, the woods. You know, you might get eaten by a bear. You know, you never know. It's like, you know, it's
No
life
one
or
will
death.
ever find you.
You
No
know,
one will ever find you.
you can't say that about going to play a game of pickup basketball. Like you're not going to
Yeah.
die. There's a very small chance.
Yeah.
But disc golf, there is a chance. So
Yeah.
you're living on the edge for sure.
There was a course, the first time I played a course in New Jersey, and it's one of my favorite courses. It's Greystone Woods, and it's adjacent. It's on the property, but adjacent to what was it's a closed down now, but it was an insane asylum.
Oh,
And I remember
cool.
being in high school running cross country, and one year our like weekly races was around this like insane asylum and everything. It was always a little creepy, a little weird. But going to this disc golf course, like I see fences and everything, so I'm like, okay, this is obviously like visited property. There's trails, it's beautiful, but I'm like, this is a big area here. I'm like, there could very well be a bear, and there is like not another car in the parking lot, and
Yeah,
I'm by myself playing this course for the first time. And
yeah,
it was definitely one of those where it's like, I'm enjoying this, but every like, branch
yeah.
that you hear break or a little ruffling of the leaves, I'm like, is because I mean, black bears are a thing in New Jersey. And so
Yeah.
never knew. And there was never anything, but it was definitely one of those like, you're in nature. You are in
We
nature. Some courses
yeah,
you are surrounded by it, and there's nothing you can do.
we get them. You know, we see them. I see a black bear playing disc golf probably average of once a year, and
Wow,
they're
man.
like pretty close. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're checking us out. There's dogs around. It's like slightly
Yeah.
tense. You know, once a
Oh,
year.
I bet.
But no, I'm just joking about dying. I don't think disc golf's that serious.
I
It's
know.
you know
Well, I've seen some of those guys on like Instagram going head to head with alligators trying to get their
yep
discs back. I'm like, guys,
yep
you might just want to leave that disc.
yeah. I mean, unfortunately, honestly, the place people die is like I don't know. I heard about it last year or 2 years ago. Someone just got shot, like in St. Louis. You know, it's in these like rough area places where you're actually like
Yeah,
other humans are actually the most dangerous thing out there,
yeah,
unfortunately.
that's
So,
that's
um,
horrible.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I think I remember hearing about it. I think
it was
it was
during a
like
tournament.
wasn't it a friend of like Greg or Nico's or something? Then
Yeah,
because I remember one of them posting about it. It might have been both of them posting about it, but I remember that now. That's just wild stuff,
yeah,
man.
man, that's terrible. Sorry to start the
Yeah.
podcast off on
No,
such a
you're
sour note,
good. You're
but
good. But yeah. Whew. Okay, well there's
so that's
no
how
way
I
to
started.
that's how you started. Very
That's
cool. Very
yeah,
cool. So I wanna spend a couple minutes talking about uh creating our own putter. I think everybody's constantly trying to find the right putter, and especially for beginners in general, they just cycle through putters like crazy. You always see it online. Like people are like,
hmm
I've tried 15 different putters and I can't find the right one. Um, and there's so many, you know, like there's the AVR, and then you have 45 different AVR clones, and then you have like the
hmm
Wizard, and then you have 45, Wizard clones. And so you have some clones out there, but all of them are a little different plastics, different manufacturers,
hmm
different consistencies in the molds. So all that being said, I think every disc golfer would love to have like a signature driver, but also like create their own putter, a signature putter, like when Paul McBeth did that with the Luna, when
hmm
James Conrad did it with the Nomad, Paige Pierce with the Fierce. So I'd love to kind of hear from you, and I'll share some thoughts as well, but I want to hear from you. Like if you had to create your own putter, take us through the thought process. What would it be like? What kind of plastic would you like to be in? beadless, speeded, how would it fly, all those little details to kind of give us an idea of your game.
So is this for me right now, or is this for a beginner? What are you thinking?
This could be for you right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't not necessarily a beginner friendly putter, especially like for the aspect of putting. I'm a proponent that I don't really think what you putt with uh, affects it too much until you start like throwing it and that kind
Mhm.
of thing. And if you throw something too overstable, but just like about putting, what feels comfortable in the hand, what you feel
Mhm.
like for your style of putting. Some
Yeah.
people are big spin putters, and so they need something that's going to be torque resistant and
Yep.
that kind of thing. So if you were to have like a signature putter, and not just signature, but like creating your own putter like those other guys and women, what would you do?
It's a little tough because my brain doesn't work that way. Like certain people um, really know a lot about discs and know every number and know every characteristic of a disc. Like that
Right.
is just not really the way my brain works. What I will say is that I agree with you. I don't Sorry to ruin your segment. I'm not ruining your
You're good.
segment. I'm going to answer your question. But I agree with what you said that I don't always think it's about the putter. I think
Mm-hmm.
that the putter takes a lot of blame when
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes it shouldn't.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I would say glidey. To answer your question, the first thing I would
Mm-hmm.
start with is I do like a glidey putter.
Mm-hmm.
I putt with a polecat for definitely all of last year. A polecat was my
Wow.
main putter. I'm a pretty touchy putter.
Mm-hmm.
My I've just got my putt down, and if anything, I'm gonna miss like a tiny bit low, right? Like I'm gonna hit cage, like
Mm-hmm.
top of the cage is my miss, and the really glidey that a polecat gives you. You could probably say the same thing about a glitch or something like that.
Right. Right.
Saves me was saving me maybe a stroke around maybe all of last year. Just I Everyone listening to this, Antonio, like sometimes you let it out of your hand and you're like, damn it, I missed that low,
Yeah.
and then somehow you hear chains,
Yep.
and it's like that's because of the glide of that polecat.
Yeah.
Um, so I have switched it for this year, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as if I'm going to design my own putter, it's going to have a lot of glide. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
grippy. I really like grippy putters.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Bead or no bead, you know, it doesn't really matter to me. To tell you the truth,
Okay.
that is not something that like affects me at all. Like while putting, like I know what you're saying as far as
Right.
throwing goes. If we're gonna pick um a universal putter to use, and that's what I switched to this year, I'm not going to tell you right now. Anyone listening is going to have to listen to the whole podcast to get that
Absolutely.
later because Antonio and I already talked about this. But I think that putter might be the perfect putter.
Yeah.
To tell you
Yeah.
the truth.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know if there is such a thing as a perfect putter. To tell you the
Right.
truth, even for one person, if it was custom made,
Right.
conditions change,
Yeah.
wind changes. I would say that's the biggest difference that
Mm-hmm.
is going to affect a putter
Yeah.
is wind and humidity as far
Mm-hmm.
as grip goes.
Right.
And call me crazy, but I do think I don't know if anyone's done any scientific studies. This might be a good possible video for you or something, but like, do grippy putters actually catch the chains better, or is this like a fallacy we have in our head that
Like
isn't
a
really true?
placebo effect.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
I hadn't even thought of it. I thought of
not
that. Yeah.
not grippy putters. You never know how this stuff turns out. They actually
Mm-hmm.
might catch better because it maybe sometimes the grippy putter grips too much, and that's why you get a right
Mm-hmm.
side chain out or something like that. I mean, who
Right.
knows? No, I don't think
Right.
anyone's ever done that study. I don't know if it's possible to do, but
Right.
in my head, I'm not really worried about the chains gripping too much. Honestly, I'm more worried about, like you said, the feel in the hand, and
Mm-hmm.
for the people listening, like that is probably the most important is being confident. It feels good in your hand. That's a good start.
Right.
I think we'll probably get into like later in the show um, different things that do affect putting and maybe changes you might make with your putter decision
Yeah.
based on certain conditions. But yeah, glide. That's my answer. I don't know how you
Yeah.
feel about that. What are you thinking?
Yeah. I agree. I like a putter with glide. I've always had a little. I was playing with Tai a couple months ago, and he was like, "Oh, you're more of a push putter than you realize." And then I've been having some shoulder issues. So just literally this past weekend, I'm like, let me start working on this spin putting because it's push putting with for other reasons. My shoulder was just not having fun with it, and I didn't change the putter I was using because I used for a while I used the mint bullets, and then I recently switched to several months ago the Jester disc golf loves, which are basically the bullet but made for Jester disc golf. And so it's like a shallow putter, beadless, pretty fast, but it has good glide. And I've definitely experienced the benefits of having a disc with glide, and so I think that's super important. Whether you're especially if you're a push putter, but even if you're
Yeah.
a spin putter, I think it's important to have some glide because there's going to be those times where you're not going to have a straight putt. You're going to have some obstruction. You're going to have elevation, and that's where glide can really come into play. A lot of people think about, oh, that if that putter's too glidey, when I miss the basket, it's going to go really far. And it's like not necessarily. It depends on how you putt it.
Mm-hmm.
It depends like what kind of miss it was. Was it just an erratic miss, or was it you gave it a good bid but it was just a little too straight, or it faded early, or it faded too late? However, whatever obstacles you're facing with the putt. So I do think glide is important. I've tried. I haven't tried nearly as many putters as some people. I started with the AVR, and then I went to JK AVRs and Voodoos and Wizards and Omegas for a little bit, and then I've been on the uh, the Mint Bullet slash Jester Love for about 2.5 years now.
Oh
So
wow, that's a
been
good
using it for
commitment.
a long time, and I really like it. I have several of them, and they've just felt the best. Um, and so I like that more shallow putter. I like using the same putter that I'm putting with as for throwing,
Okay.
even though I do have some additional putters in the bag. Like I don't only throw the love. I do have some other ones in the bag. I do like getting one in premium plastic to throw as well. And I like those more neutral flights. I used some overstable putters like the Wizard before, like the JK AVR,
Mm-hmm.
and I found that it was like messing up with my form. And so if I had to create my own putter, it's going to be a neutral putter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with something like one fade or whatever, a little bite at the end to give it some uh, resistance. I don't want something super flippy. I don't want a putt to start turning,
Mm-hmm.
especially from like 50, 60 feet and never come back. So I want something nice and straight. I like the more shallow feel. I like the beadless. I just like something that feels like it comes out of the hand fast, even if it's not necessarily moving fast. I like that quick, that quick putt. But that's kind of where I have been when it's hard to create my own putter because I feel like I have found one that for like the last 2.5 years I've been
Yeah.
using, and
Yep.
but I will say for all those players over the years that have gotten their signature discs, I think there's something to be said for, oh, they've been playing for 20, 30 years.
Yep.
Like Simon just got the Pixel. Like, I mean, dude's been playing. I think he picked up a disc, he said in a video years ago, like when he was 2 or 3 years old or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I mean, he's been playing 98% of his life. I mean, at that stage, it's like exactly what you want, and then you just talk with the guys who are making it to give you like the specifications and measurements and whatnot. Um, it would be cool one day to have
It'd be
your own
cool.
putter made specifically for you. I think that's something that would be a lot of fun.
It'd be cool. Yeah. The problem is kind of you rattled off a list of about 10 there. Pretty much every putter's already been made. Like I don't know what's left. I think
Yeah.
honestly, I think Paul Macbeth seems to make the best adjustments to putters that like really seem to work. Like Marissa, my better half, is just loving the Luna.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's the
I've heard good
Kratos.
things about the Kratos.
Yeah, I guess it has a bead. Like I think I'm not saying Simon doesn't know about discs, but I don't have a Pixel, but I picked one up. A buddy was playing. It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That feels just like I've picked this putter up like 20 different times. This one just says Pixel. Like,
Right.
sorry. And it's like that AVR style,
Yeah.
you know, like rounded
Yeah.
edge, like not too deep, but kind of deep, like good enough glide, like good. It's like just a putter. So there's only so many ways to do it. I wouldn't recommend someone going out and putting with a polecat consistently. I was doing it mostly for fun,
Yeah.
getting ready for a polecat tournament, and it just kind of stuck, and they kept going in, you know.
Yeah.
So
I
I
got a
stuck
buddy
with
that
it.
puts with polecats, so every time like he lines it up and makes, I'm just like, I mean, it works. It's a straight disc. It glides. But I don't know how you get comfortable with that,
If
abrasive
yeah,
edge. It's just
yep,
very square. And
yep,
I'm like, I could throw it a couple times. It's fun. I got a Halo one and a DX
yep.
one, but to actually like putt with it, I'm like, I think I'd be too in my head about how it feels awkward in my hand.
Yeah, I'm not. I've never been like that. I've never thought much about the hand, and we're going to get into that in a later, you know, because we're going to break down putting, like
Mm-hmm.
the different um, stages of putting, like
Mm-hmm.
later on. But
Right.
I've never over personally. I've never really. I can give me a freaking mid range.
Yeah.
I'll putt with it. Like, and I do that once in a while. I'll just do that on
Yeah.
course. Like I'll pick up
Oh
my
yeah.
mid range and I'll just be like,
Yeah.
"Can I putt with this?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Oh yeah.
you can putt with a mid range. You can putt with a
Yeah.
driver."
Yep.
Um, but to round out the segment, if you can only tell me I have to putt with one thing for the rest of my life, it's an
Oh
R
yeah.
Pro putt and throw. If I get one putter for
Uh
everything,
huh.
R Pro Rhino. I've done that from just about day one.
Yo, I love the Rhino, man.
Yeah,
The only reason I don't bag a Rhino is because it is not as forehand torque resistant as you would think.
no, it's
Um,
not.
and
It's
it's
not.
so disappointing because it's great on the backhand. I would
Yeah,
I would putt with it too if like anything I've used before one disc, I'd probably pick something like the Rhino as well.
yeah,
It is such a man. You're gonna make me go back and see if I can find
yeah,
a
dude. You're insane for not having it in the bag. Like
yeah.
you
Well,
don't need you don't need a forehand if you can just get this nice touchy R Pro Rhino turnover. Like you don't
It's
even need the
true,
forehand. You
and
know.
you're not kidding when you say R Pro like that
Oh,
is
it got to be R Pro.
especially for the Rhino,
Yeah,
so good.
yeah.
So oh man,
I got
yeah,
that was probably the first like specialty disc I went and like had to find. Had
yeah,
a strong recommendation from someone very early on at that first
yeah.
disc golf course I went to. They said
Uh huh.
it was a really tight technical course.
Uh huh.
And this kid, Ryan Rhodes, I don't maybe he's listening. Um, said you got to get one of these, and I tell you
Yeah.
what, uh, still in my bag. Really, pretty
Yeah.
much not day one, day two.
Yeah.
It's still there. So yeah, that would be my one all time one putter. Honestly,
Mm.
like you said, one disc only. One
Yeah.
disc only. That's I'll take that.
Yeah. Man,
Yep.
I might have to get a couple. Now you got me thinking like, ooh, it really can do everything. I still wouldn't
Yeah.
putt with it. I still wouldn't putt with it, but it really can do it. And that R Pro stays nice and flat. Like so many of the
Yep.
champion and star ones are domey, and it's just like I don't want my Rhino to be domey. I want it nice and flat, and the R Pros are
Yep.
nice and flat. So
Yep. I don't know about the
awesome.
new R Pro. I haven't tried any of the new R Pro stuff.
Mm.
This R Pro I have now is yeah, probably 5 or 6 years old.
Oh
Um,
man, that thing probably turns forever.
it does. I mean, it just holds the line, you know,
Wow.
and they're a great putter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've never tried it. Yeah, I think it's, kind of in between maybe like a wizard and a polecat. You know, it's got
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of stability, but it
Yeah.
still has the grip
Yeah.
and the
Has more
glide.
glide than yeah,
Yeah,
it
the
has
glide.
more glide than they give credit for.
Yep, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Like the
Absolutely.
Berg has one glide and the
Mm,
Rhino's listed as one glide. I'm like, no, this
really?
is like,
Yeah,
yeah.
no.
It's like I
No,
think it's
it's
listed unless they've changed it. It's like a 2 or 3 at least.
mhm.
It can be pretty glidey. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But all right, I just want to get your quick thoughts on the concept of drive for show and putt for dough before we wrap up the class in session. So, what are your thoughts about drive for show, putt for dough?
I think it depends on how like your level of play,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Like cuz the stats come out, you've seen them on the pro tour. it's about driving. Like that's where the winners are making up the most strokes. But they're playing 500-foot par threes. And so I think, if you're 1,000 rated or above player, first of all, you're probably already 1,000 rated putter also, or close,
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe I'm misinterpreting the stats, but it seems like at the highest level, it really is more about throwing. But I think if you're like under 1,000 rated player, it's more about driving. That's where you're going to make, putting.
Right. Right.
That's where you're going to make up the most strokes against your competitors. Because that's where you get like under 1,000. If you're in that 950, 960, you're like, I think that's where we're both at. So it's where it's like, I don't throw that far, but I don't miss 25 footers where, the other guy on my card can throw 450, 500 feet, but he can't putt,
Right.
so we even out at the end. And I think that if I'm going to give one advantage, I think that putting takes, if it comes down, I'm just making this up. This hasn't actually happened to me.
You're good.
If it comes down to hole 18, final round of some, let's say a B tier,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm tied with the guy that can throw really far. We're walking up to hole 18. We're tied, and it's a 350-foot par three. I got a chance of getting there. He's got a really good chance because it's just a mid-range for him or something.
Right.
I'm telling a very bad story here.
You're good. I see where it's going.
What I'm getting to is we're both putting, and I feel like I have more confidence that I can pull off this birdie, from 25 or 30 feet to win than he. Even if he gets it to 15, he's going to be nervous as hell,
right?
Because he can't putt. And even if I come up a little bit short, I've got a 20 edge of circle putt. I'm confident I can make that putt, and he is not even from 15. So I think that in the lower categories, under 1,000 rated, it is about. I think putting saves you the most strokes, and it has more of a mental advantage. That's what I'm trying to tell you with that story. Like, you don't feel the pressure as much on the tee pad as you do on the green with everyone watching you. It's only you. And I think that putting takes more mental composition. And I think that's what gives it the edge over driving.
I've never thought about it in those words. Like, if you're 1,000 above, you have to have good putting to get to that skill level. Like, you don't see players like, they might have a really bad round or a really bad tournament, or they're going through a slump, but you don't see bad putting of like they're putting 50-60% C1X for weeks and months on end. It might be they had a really bad round or something. Whereas when you look below 1,000 rated, whether that's at local events, A tiers, or even on FPO, because no FPO player has hit 1,000 rated yet. One is very close. Kristen Tatar is very, very close. But we see where someone like Owen Scoggins, Kristen Tatar,
that's a great example.
Several and a couple of the women that aren't coming to mind right now, but who excel at putting. Like, they can drive really far, but their putting is what elevates their game and keeps them in the winner's circle or keeps them on the podium. And that was along the same lines. I didn't make the point exactly the same as you did, but I made a similar point a lot in season 1, where I was talking about this idea of drive for show, putt for dough. And I do think that of all players in the entire, professional disc golf community, I think Owen Scoggins might be the one anomaly, because she cannot drive nearly as far as the other women. But the thing that benefits her is even more than just her putting. It's her consistency. She's like, okay, we have this 450 foot, let's say par 4, it's in the woods. You're going to go for the 330 foot shot, trying to get up there for the birdie. She's like, okay, I'll throw 250 with my Star Destroyer, and I'll throw another 200, with a Leopard 3 or Star Destroyer again. And then I have a 20-foot putt, and I make the putt, and I get the birdie that way. And it's just this great representation of the scorecard doesn't have pictures, and also playing within your game. Like, she doesn't try to overextend herself. And so I like those points that you made. Drive for show, putt for dough. Driving is, as you get into the higher tiers of disc golf, you get to, over 1,000 rated. That's going to separate. Can you hit that 600-foot, 500-foot drive consistently, regardless of wind? And then below that, 800 rated, 900 rated players really elevating their game through putting, spending time on the green. I appreciate your thoughts on that, Kevin, and I am super excited for us to wrap up this class and session and head over to the main show. So if you guys are listening to this now and you haven't already listened to episode 2, go ahead and head there now. We'll see you guys in the main show.
Check it there.